comes from the thoughts and feelings of all the humans on the planet. And for instance, animals don't have a collective mind, even though they're very superior. Animals and plants are actually very superior beings, but they do not participate in the collective mind. Lucky for them.
Lucky for them,
and
yeah.
So, yeah, right. Your dog doesn't worry about the war in Iraq, you know.
Yeah.
But the fourth dimension not only is the collective mind and all these thoughts and feelings as a collective, it's also the realm that connects all of us. And so understanding this dimension is the key to moving into oneness and connectivity, which is, I think, what's happening. Then, once we go through the issues of these thoughts and feelings and polarized realms in the fourth dimension, the next dimension, the fifth dimension, is the opening of the heart. It's the realm of unconditional love. And then once we move into the realm of unconditional love, the next dimension above that is the sixth dimension, of course. And the sixth dimension is a realm of geometrical fields, and it's actually very much related to Plato's theory of the world of forms and the world of ideals. And so this dimension is more subtle than that fifth dimension. We're starting to move into like a geometrical realm. We're starting to move into more kind of mental field. Then the seventh dimension is the dimension of sound, and it's the same thing as the music of the spheres that Kepler talked about. And we already know scientifically that sound creates geometry. This has been very well demonstrated with cymatics, for example. And so, as you can see, Henrik, you can go either way with this dimension. So we can be in the seventh dimension and we can be in the realm of sound. Then sound creates geometry, and then as we move into the fifth dimension, the geometry moves into the human heart. But moving down the seventh dimension, the eighth dimension is a dimension of divine consciousness, a dimension of oneness. And this dimension, this is exactly what the same thing as what the Bible says. The Bible says that the Word created form, and so God spoke, and then the seventh dimension of sound comes in with the Word, and then the Word starts to create form. So this is very much in synchronicity with a lot of the world religions. And then the most fascinating thing about the Pleiadian idea, which I did not understand until I ran into Carl's work, is that Pleiadians are saying that the ninth dimension is time, and that time is actually a higher dimension than divine consciousness, which was very, very confusing for me for years until I ran into Carl's theory, which is showing us that the Mayan calendar is a time-coded evolutionary form, which is then creating the divine mind and then creating all these dimensions. So that's what they are, and then if you want me to, I can also describe to you what's the advantage of being tuned into this, if you know what I mean. Like, what do you get out of it if you do it?
Yeah.
And after teaching it for, Jerry and I have taught it together for 15 years. At this point, I live in a 9-dimensional state of consciousness all the time. It just becomes you finally. And so what happens with this is when you're in tune with the first dimension, the center of the earth, you have access to the Akashic records, and specifically the cosmic Akashic records, because the center of the earth is in vibratory resonance with all the other planets and stars and galaxies in the universe. And so what happens for you is you literally have the ability to understand the cosmic realms. And I think this is going to be an increasingly important skill on the part of our species, because I think we are moving more and more into cosmic resonance now. And, the ability to tune into that, I think, is very important. The second dimension is very interesting. This is the realm between the iron core crystal and the crust. And the second dimension is a realm of elemental resonation with minerals and chemicals and biological energy as you get closer to the crust. And so when you tune into the second dimension, and by the way, what do I mean tune into? Of course, this is what we teach. Each one of the dimensions has a different frequency. And by studying the teachings about these dimensions or actually experiencing them with Jerry and me, what happens is you start to be able to feel the difference between each one. So when I say tuning into the second dimension, it actually involves slowing your body down. And when you tune into the elemental resonation, you have the opportunity to achieve absolutely perfect health. Being in tune at that level means not having to go to the doctor or the hospital, which I think is an excellent choice on this planet.
Yep.
You know. Then the third dimension is pretty simple. We understand that one pretty well because we live here. And all I did in the third dimension was offer indigenous teachings about being in touch with seasonality, like equinoxes and solstices and lunar cycles, and also the 7 directions. And when you are in tune in the third dimension, you're psychic, and you know whether to, take your car down a certain street or not. It's really pretty amazing when people are really tuned into 3D in an effective way. Then the fourth dimension, as I said to you when we started, is the really tricky one. Because the fourth dimension, first of all, has all the records of everything that ever happened on this planet. And that is the same thing as the Akashic records in the core,
right,
except the Akashic records of the fourth dimension are the Earth Akashic records. So this is all of history, all of evolution, all of every past life encounter that you ever had. And so as you can imagine, it's lots of fun to play with that stuff. But the adept level of the fourth dimension is to figure out how the control programs work.
Right.
Because, for us, because the global elite and the various cosmic forces in the universe, whatever they are, they all work through the fourth dimensional control programs to keep humans in a state of complete confusion. And so when you really master what the global elite is up to, which of course I had lots of fun with in Alchemy, what happens is you become totally free. Because when they start to hand out their BS, you don't fall for it.
Right.
Like when 9/11 happened, I already knew the government did it by 1 o'clock that afternoon, if you know what I mean.
Mm-hmm.
The United States, the United States, Pakistani, and the Mossad in Egypt, or Israel, excuse me. Mm-hmm. In other words, if you can just watch these guys, and this is what everybody's doing right now, which is lots of fun. But I would say that probably this is the most interesting dimension because I think in 2011 the fourth dimension is going to clarify. In other words, I think that the biggest shift that's coming at the end of this calendar is people becoming able to actually see the influences that are controlling them. Mm-hmm. And that's going to be very powerful.
Yeah, that sounds like a lot of fun. Huh?
Yeah, that's what I think is going on, and I probably am going to do some pretty major writing about this in the next 6 months because let me put it this way: I'm really beginning to see just exactly how they're doing it, and I think a lot of Europeans are really tuned into this one at this point. For instance, it's so interesting that the Pope is being exposed mainly on that planetary midline going through Germany. We've had reports of sexual abuse in Catholicism going on for 25 years, especially in the United States, but now it's coming through at the midline level. Right. And once people figure out what the Pope is up to, a lot of things are going to change, but we'll let that one go in case you want to go back to it. If you open fifth dimensional consciousness, you exist in a state of unconditional love and divine bliss, and it's a beautiful way to live. I don't need to say too much more about that. Then, if you are in tune with the sixth dimension, you are in tune with the world of perfect form. And this is extremely useful. For example, there's an ideal Henrik body and an ideal Barbara body in the sixth dimension. Mm-hmm. And if you can tune into it, then you can do yoga and Tai Chi and sacred dance and exercise and all that and good diet. And being in tune with your ideal form enables you to go into perfect harmony and balance, as you can imagine. Yeah. And then, of course, it's fun to tune into all the other ideas that are in that dimension, too. It's a beautiful world. Then when we go into the seventh dimension, the issue of tuning into sound. A lot of people at this point are working with advanced sound healing techniques, because if you can just tune into the correct frequency, then immediately the correct form formulates, and then it goes right down to unconditional love and through the dimensions. So sound in the seventh dimension is an extremely subtle realm, and it probably is the dimension that's going to give us the most assistance in terms of going into oneness, because I think what's going to happen, and the Pleiadians have also told me this, what's going to happen in 2011 is our world is going to start to be